interesting group together here, and we're talking a bit about coming out of COVID, coming out of a pretty tough few months, and many people outside of China, they always look at China, what's happening at China, to give them a bit of a guidance on what might happen in markets that are maybe not yet through the worst. And there's been a lot of changes over the past few months in terms of what consumer behavior changing, a lot of acceleration in digital transformation. So we just want to talk a bit about that today, and I think it's great to have you two, because you come from very different walks of life. And Coke, obviously a big consumer company, consumer brand, CocaCola, and you're always seen as a kind of leader in what's happening in the world of marketing and branding. So I'm sure you have a lot of great things to share. And you, Benjamin, football has probably changed more than anything else, because for a couple of months there was no football, and now you're playing in empty stadiums. Right. So today we just want to talk a bit about number one, some learnings that you had over the past few months, some views on the future, how a post-COVID world might look at. And maybe we start with you, Ella. Maybe you can just share a bit on what happened with Coke in the last few months, and how you went through the worst and where you are now.
Okay. I think the most difficult time probably is the quarter one. During the outbreak of COVID-19, which impacted the business significantly. But we rebounded quite quickly right after that, when the COVID-19 was under control, and then the business started to turn around to kind of bounce back. I think by reflecting all the things, I think there are a few things, it's really, really valuable. But I want to talk more is that, one, what we have done really right is that we set some clear priorities when the situation starts to kind of a little bit panic. So we identify what to do, and very importantly, what not to do. I think at that time, because you don't know what you don't know, and then at least you need to be very clear what to do and what not to do, so set a more clear directions for the big systems to know what's the directions we're heading for. So during that time, I think we said very clearly, we need to protect our people. That's our number one priority. And number two is that we need to protect our profit so that we can keep the sustainable growth. And the third one is that we make sure, we know the business definitely will get impacted, but we need to get at least to keep the share. So that's kind of the three very important priorities we set. And then from there, then we outline all kinds of scenario plannings to do, to work on that. So I think this, by reflecting the situation for the past 6 months, I think this one is really, really critical. And the second one, I think what we have done very well is that we spent a lot of effort to understand the consumer's behavior shift. Okay, so for example, it's very obvious people stay at home more, and then they also care more about wellness. So we provide the solutions which will fit to that. Even we need to reshape our route to market to deliver products to home, etc. So that things we follow the consumer behavior shift, and also we need to understand consumer sentiment better so that we can provide the communication in a more relevant way to them. So for me, that's kind of a number two. Number three, I think the power of the importance of the brand power is becomes so visible, so obvious during this period of time. Simple reason, I think people are under the uncertainty mood, and they will look for things they feel more certain about, right? So they will tend to choose more on the brands they love, they are familiar, and the brands they are trustworthy. So for the past few years, which we put effort behind the brand equity, etc., now it kind of it becomes more effective for us to reach our consumers. Yeah. Probably the other one, which we'll also feel very important, is the operational capability, because I think together with the clear priorities, by that time we say we need to do less rather than do more, and focus on fewer, especially our core brands. And by doing so, system is also in the same direction, and the operation capability from supply chain to the frontline sales. So we work together as a team, move together. That kind of help to bring back the momentum very, very quickly. So that's kind of the things from a learning perspective. After 6 months, I think that's the things which I think will be very critical. Yeah.
We will go into a few details on what you mentioned. I think there's a lot of very interesting angles you just mentioned, and I think a lot of that can be quite valuable for people that are, maybe slightly behind on where we are in China. But let's Benjamin, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about what's going on in your world and how you experienced the last few months.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for the invitation, Chris. Always good to see you. Pleasure to meeting you, Ella. Football without spectators, that's definitely different in Germany for us, and it's difficult, especially for a club like Borussia Dortmund. You might know we got the biggest stadium in Germany. We got the highest attendance worldwide in football. More than 80,000 people are coming to our stadium every game day. So we call it's our temple of football. It's like the soul of our club, kind of. And this is now empty. So that's difficult, and it has a sportive impact. We had times where we were unbeaten in our stadium for more than 1.5 years. Before Corona came, we were the strongest home team. We scored the most goals. And after Corona, when we played in an empty stadium, we lost 70% of our home games. So we can see this huge crowd of people that pushes our team. So it definitely had a sportive impact on us. And also, this is no secret, it has a big financial impact, of course. You've seen our numbers probably. We just opened our books last Monday. We made a loss of 44 million euros within last season, and that's mainly because of missing tickets we could sell and hospitality rights and everything. So our CEO said as well, we will do positive numbers when we have spectators again in the stadium. So very big impact on us, and we hope that's going to change soon again.
But do you think that this will come back anytime soon, or how do you look at next season? How do you plan for next season? Probably not going to come back very quickly, right?
True. That's hard to predict. I mean, what we learned in the last months, the Bundesliga was the first league who resumed the competition again. I think that was an excellent job from our league, from the DFL, the German Football League. They made this concept how to restart the league, dividing the stadium in 3 zones: outside, stadium, tribune, and then the pitch area, maximum 300 people, each zone maximum 100 people, corona tests everywhere. I think this is where we are strong at, probably in Germany, that we made a role model for all the other leagues. My hope is now, by resuming the games with a few spectators, going step by step, 10,000, 30,000, that we're going to make a good job with the other clubs together there, that we can slowly start to resume the spectators. The season starts in September, but we won't have spectators for sure until October, and then we are hoping, depending on the situation, that we can start slowly with spectators again.
Okay. And maybe we can talk a bit. You mentioned before about like shifts in consumer behavior, and maybe Ella, you can kick that off. But always, I think a lot of debate about what shifts are temporary shifts and what shifts are kind of long-term shifts, and everybody predicted that everything will change coming out of COVID, but human beings are human beings that probably will go back in some ways to their old ways, but definitely some things will change for good, and I do think that will affect your business as well. So what's your view on that?
Yeah. I think, yes, there are a lot of discussions about the consumer behavior shift. I think there are probably three things which we see will be very critical even post-COVID-19. I think the first one is that people need to stay and also be used to stay home more. So you need to work from home, you study from home, and you do everything at home. Right? So home become not just a place which you go home after 5 and then until the next morning. It becomes a very multifunctional center, right? People need to just work, study, do exercise, do everything at home. So for us, it's very critical is that how to, and also the interactions between family will be more frequent. The emotions might be more complex under that context. So how to make our brand to play an even more meaningful role under that context. And also critical is that how can we provide the product solutions which will fit to that occasions better. And how do we do communications more relevant at that context? So that's the one thing which we're working on very, very hard for. Second thing, I think COVID-19 is a big impact to everyone, and also kind of big alert for people to take care of the wellness, take care of their health. So under that circumstances, it's how can we provide things which fulfill the needs, right? So interestingly, say, started from the early stage of the COVID-19, because people need to stay home more, and then they cannot go outside to do exercise, etc. They still want to enjoy the indulgence, but at the same time, they are looking for something which will be guilty-free, right? So because of that, so in sparkling category, the no sugar range is flying. It's doing very, very well because people before no sugar shares very small portion of our business, but now these days it's flying. So people are proactively looking for something which is no sugar, no calorie, that kind of products. So how can we provide the solutions to them, and that's very critical. I think the third one is correlated with to be at home, so everything's online, right? So work, study, like concert, or the entertainment, you're so used to do that, right? In that sense, how can we connect consumers in a more contextual way, right? To really reach them at the right timing with the right message, etc. So that's the things which we think that will definitely continue to impact. Maybe one day people will play football online.
They do already. Yeah, good segue to you. I having a child myself who spends most of his life in the virtual world, I just wonder how you see kind of the future of when you look at obviously football will always stay football and people will go to a stadium, but I'm sure in how you market your club and how you work with sponsors, that it has to become more of a virtual, integrated kind of world that you're looking at. And also as we talked about consumer behavior, I'm just wondering if that's something you guys also look at, and you have some views on coming out of COVID, if you think there will be some changes in consumption of media, consumption of your product, which is, I guess, your club or your team. What's your view on that?
Yeah, you're right. Of course, a lot of things shifted from the pitch during the corona when the football was stopped to the digital world. I can give some examples, but before I dive into this whole digital world, I gotta say, we from Borussia Dortmund, we really try to stick to football. We always say we gotta smell the grass. We need that pure emotional feelings and not to be that artificial in the digital world. It's always a nice asset for us, maybe a cherry on top, to do things digitally, but we really hope we can get on the pitch as soon as possible. Maybe that as a quick introduction from the perspective of Borussia Dortmund. What we did regarding consumer behavior, of course, when football was stopped, we did the virtual stadium tour. So many people want to see our stadium. Now we have it virtually, that people can walk around the museum, the locker rooms, the referee room, walking on the pitch through the tunnel into the stadium. We got that digitally now. Very nice asset, but still it can't be replaced by a pure feeling being there. we did a nice thing for many companies in Dortmund rely on the football club. And when football was stopped for a couple of months, many small kiosks, like shops where they sell beer and currywurst, they had to be closed. So we did a virtual tour to the stadium. So people could walk digitally to the stadium as if there would be a game and then donate for beer, for currywurst, for those shops. I think also a nice digital activity to support the local dealers. Those are things we can keep up. We created a podcast as well. I think those are nice things. But again, we want to focus on the real football. This is what we did in Germany. And then in China, we usually do fan viewing parties all over the country. So we have 18 fan clubs around the country. And every second weekend, we ask our fan clubs, where should we go next? To Xi'an, to Nanjing, to wherever, Beijing. And then we organize with our fan clubs there a fan viewing party, and we stream it also digitally. That was planned during COVID times as well, and then the league stopped, and we said, okay, sorry fan clubs, we got to cancel all this. And then our fan club said, why don't we do a digital fan viewing party? Just having an evening together digitally, and we share our best stories from Borussia Dortmund. We do a juggling contest. The fans are singing the club song. So we said, that's a nice idea. We did that first time in April, I think it was. And then we were so surprised. We did it with our fan club in Nanjing, and 3.7 million people joined that evening, the fan gathering party, without a football match. So again, a very nice thing online. We did it a second time with 5 million spectators. Super nice. But again, we are focusing now again. Luckily, China did a good job on COVID, and we can organize fan viewing parties on the ground again. This is where we want to go again, back on the ground.
Mm. Yeah. Well, we look at esports quite closely because many of our clients are getting into esports or gaming because it's such a huge business and has such massive audiences. So I'm not sure. I think you might shift your opinion over the next few years when you look at the sheer numbers. And I totally agree with you. It will never be just virtual. It'll probably be a mix of real life and virtual, but I think the virtual component is going to become bigger and bigger.
Yeah, but I think the point is that experience will remain to be a very important thing. Yeah, so especially the life that you can really experience the whole things. I think that will still remain to be true. Yeah, even after COVID-19, people will even appreciate that more. Yeah.
And it's obviously, I know this club better than you do, Ella, being also German. But I think it's interesting what you say because probably other clubs can do that more than Dortmund, because I think Dortmund it's kind of like a worker club. It's really has like a heart and soul much more than other clubs. So I think the stadium and the fans, and there's such a big component of your brand that you have to definitely maintain that as a core.
Okay, yeah, there are many clubs who got bought by gas or oil companies right now in Europe, right? It's way more easier to say, okay, we set up esports now and we play League of Legends. Easy. It's just it's a commercial brand basically. If we would do this, I think we would lose many football games where football is a religion for them, as you said. It's like
China is more advanced already in digital world, but I think COVID is kind of accelerating that even faster. So especially for us, for example, we are very strong in offline business, right? So people go to shop and buy a Coke. Now we need to pay more attention behind this kind of to-home opportunity. When people it's not convenient for them to go out, or they're not used to go out. In that sense, how can we have the different business model to fulfill that needs? It's either riding on the third party, or we need to consider how to, for example, omni-channel right now is booming, and how can we ride on that? We have the strength on the offline, how to bring that online. So this for us, it become some new directions we need to drive very hard behind. Yeah.
And specifically when you talk about e-commerce or omni-channel, are there some big initiatives that you're doing or that you accelerated coming out of COVID, or that? I mean, I'm sure you had a e-commerce business or commerce business before COVID, but anything specific that you're doing in that space?
Yeah, I think we started from, say, occasion perspective. So, for example, I just use some example. For example, Coke, in the past, we mainly focus on the away-from-home consumption. So when people have a social gatherings outside, so that's kind of the area we put a lot of attention behind. But because of the COVID-19, we start to build more on at-home consumption as well. So from communication perspective, I think my team has done a very interesting job to quickly change the communication and then to address the home needs. So, and then at the same time, we're looking into, do we have the right packs, which were easy for consumers to stock at home. And we kind of push very strongly behind the mini can, the small size, which will be the right portion for you at home, and 8 packs, so easy to stock in the fridge, etc. So the right packs and also the route to market. So from operation side perspective, how do they to make sure they have the right the product exposure from online page, etc. Those kind of small things, but when all things integrated together, does need the whole system to work together to touch to that direction. And the other interesting part is that from before, say, marketing is mainly to build awareness, to engage your consumers, right? But now how to kind of link online, offline in a more tight way, or link offline to online in a more tight way. So that's something we also kind of like put more effort behind. Yeah.
You've done something with Erlenmeyer, right, or something like that?
Yeah, like we did something like a card mail. Okay, so we have, I think, thanks for bringing this up. The interesting idea is that because consumers having this kind of online behavior, so we did kind of like a cloud meals. So Coke is inviting everyone for you to invite your friends to be online to have the meals together. And then at the same time, we will bring you give you some coupons so that you can redeem for McDonald's, etc. So those kind of digital activities and to provide the virtual experience and also to drive the transactions kind of in one blue shop. Yeah.
You can provide Coke for virtual fan gatherings.
Yes,
That's a link.
Here you go. What great idea coming
Coke
out of
and
this.
football, always the best companion.
Discuss later.
Benjamin, I'm always surprised when how much football clubs actually care about their brand and how much effort they put into their own brand. I'm just wondering if you can share a bit about. We've talked about before. I think there's 80 other foreign clubs kind of competing in China for sponsorship money, fans, attention. How do you go after building the Borussia Dortmund brand in China, and how do you try to do things differently than the other clubs?
Yeah, you're right. 83 foreign clubs are active in China. It's a big competition. You're right on that. We came to China 2017. We had several Asia tours before where we came with the whole team, and then we saw the huge support here in China. The Nielsen study, it's a big survey institute. They mentioned 80 million Chinese people know Borussia Dortmund. That's the size and population of Germany. Therefore, we said, okay, we need an office here. This is what we did 2017. And then basically we structured our business in 3 parts. It's the fan part, which I mentioned. We want to be close to the fan clubs, fan viewing parties, digital platforms. We got 9 digital platforms where we have a dedicated content strategy for young people, for diehard football fans, for more fashion and lifestyle related fans. Of course, in China, football is way more entertainment rather than football in Germany. So we need there a dedicated strategy for that. That's the whole fan part. Then, of course, we're doing commercial partnerships, selling IP rights, logo rights, picture rights. For example, as a German football club, we have a beer partner here in China, so black and yellow beer cans in the market. That's our best example for a partnership over here. And the third part is then the youth football development. As you know, Borussia Dortmund is famous for its youth football approach. We don't buy old-made stars. This is not our approach. We always say we create those stars. So you can see now with Jadon Sancho, Haaland, if you're a little familiar with football, all those young guys, 20 years old, are playing Borussia Dortmund. They might leave our club on a certain stage for another club, but our approach is to develop them. And we think this fits exactly into the China approach, governmental driven, to be a top football nation in the future, educating those kids. And we try to bring this knowledge from Borussia Dortmund with our coaches to cities, to provinces, to universities, to help that youth football development. Those are the three parts, and you can basically say all three parts are brand building for us as well. Of course, the fan part is brand building, commercial partnerships are brand building, and then of course this relationships with football development is brand building as well.
Okay. For one question, Ella, just more like a personal question, because I feel, especially in difficult times, jobs are getting quite complicated because you're supposed to, manage crisis, build your business, transform your business, all at the same time. And I'm just wondering, having gone through the past few months, if there's any learnings or any views you can share, if you're a marketing or CMO or a company head, or how to manage this, or how to best go through it and have the highest chance of being successful.
I think my reflection would be, it's kind of like joint reflection with my team as well. I think there are a few things very, very critical. One is that transparency, because there's a lot of things which is unknown, and the decision usually is made based on what we know, right? So we need to be very, very transparent with all our team members and to let them understand what's the decision we are making right now and based on what kind of a context, so that when people know better, they will be easily to kind of join the crew and also support you and head for the same direction. But if there's no transparency, people will start to ask a lot of questions and not on the table, it's beneath the table. And that makes the morale in a very bad situation. So I think transparency, that's very important. Second, I think it's very important is that to have early engagement. Because again, I think agility is really required during this period of time. We made a lot of changes because with the situation of COVID-19 here, there, so we did a lot of adjustment. And by having that kind of a condition, to engage everyone as early as possible, even though the decision is not yet final, but let them to understand why is that, and this is our thought, and what's your thought about this one, so, and hear everyone's point of view. That helps a lot as well. And I think the third one is that to be agile, really agile, mentally, and so that people will feel. At starting point, people will be a little bit resistant with those kind of changes because too many. I just remember in February I have kind of a work on, I think at least 10 scenario plannings. So every scenario plannings need a lot of work behind. So you need to be equipped with this kind of agility, and also the whole team, the whole organization need to be equipped with that, so that you can counteract the challenge in a more smooth way. That would be my thought, yes.
Any thoughts on your side?
I mean, if we're talking about trends and what's upcoming, what I can see in the sports business are those new dedicated content formats. You might have seen it last week. The NBA announced a dedicated betting live stream after each game. So they have an own show looking at the past game and then analyzing where you could have bet on which thing. Next shot, who's losing the ball, the next score. And then together with a betting partner, nice brand fit then, and then having this dedicated content format for people who are interested in putting some money, for example, on an NBA game. I think this is a interesting approach. It shouldn't, or it doesn't have to be betting right away, but I think that dedicated content format is interesting. What we did in kind of similar way from Borussia Dortmund is that we had a camera team following the club for 6 months, each and everywhere, in the locker room, back home with the players, back home with the coach, being in the training camp, like a camera 24/7 with them to give an inside view of the club, not only the game itself. And I think we will have more of those content formats. We're working on a series called Black and Yellow, 9 episodes, each 45 minutes, introducing our youth academy, introducing the young players to give like more an inside view of the club. This is probably something new which we haven't done yet.
Do you what about the world of Coke? Do you see kind of some new innovation coming out of all of this, or that you say, okay, we launch new formats, new products, new healthier products? I don't know, anything that you've done already?
I think there's the part which I mentioned earlier. I think the to home part is something for me. I won't say it's totally new things, but we did make significant. We changed the way we do very, very significantly, I would say. So, as I said, it's starting from the occasions we focus, and then from the product solutions we offer, and then also the way to engage consumers, and the message we talk about, and even also the route to market we built. So that's for us is brand new things, which we push very, very hard right now. Yeah.
Do you? I often, we have a lot of multinational clients, and obviously we work with many local clients as well. I always feel like one area where maybe the multinationals sometimes struggle a bit in China is kind of the speed of innovation, because a lot of the local companies say, okay, I do this, and then they do it. In a multinational company, you often have some processes to follow, and have you seen some areas of innovation where you think like, wow, this is really amazing, or something that we should have done, or how do you look at what's happening out there and make sure you're fast to react to new trends or new innovation that's out there?
Yeah, I think it's very critical is that to come back to consumer insights perspective, and then to really have a deep understanding what's the new trend, and then to provide the right solutions to that. For example, as I said, people are taking care of wellness, and then they're looking for guilty-free solutions, right? So no sugar range is flying. And interestingly, we started to nurture on this range starting from 2008. So it's not from today. But kind of like we kind of sense there's a trend coming up. So we started to have the product ready there and do just kind of like to nurture that business opportunity. And we kind of get the benefit when people are looking for that right now. Yeah.
That corresponds with our experiences as well. This healthier lifestyle is a big topic in China. So we don't just get requests like how to shoot a ball or how to run fast. We also get requests, how do those kids eat? Like what's a proper nutrition plan? Like how do I structure my day to be healthy? We definitely see that too.
Well, we also saw a lot of research, people getting more healthy, but then I talked to one of our clients, and they're sold out on potato chips. So and that's, I think, quite interesting, because on one hand, yes, you have kind of bigger trends towards more healthy lifestyle, but at the same time, I think there's also a lot of kind of indulgence coming out of COVID, because people felt like, okay, now I can live my good old life again, and people actually like to go back to a KFC and eat a chicken burger, or they like to eat some potato chips. So it's kind of like both, I guess. That that will happen. But I think there's a lot of interesting innovation, happening in China, and a lot of the multinational clients that we work with, they often look at what's happening kind of with the local players, because I think they're often not always right, but I think often faster in jumping on certain trends or innovating. So I don't know if nobody can predict anything, but any views on how 2021 could look like?
That's a big question.
I just had to do a 5-year plan, so I don't even know what's going to happen next week.
That's easy for a football club. I mean, we want to fight for the title again. We have an awesome squad. We're in the preseason now. Signed some great players again, some great young guys. Kept the top stars. So that's our plan. We want to race for the title in Germany.
And then we were still kind of based on the scenarios is to see how can we do the best from that. And take the learnings. I think more important is that the question you mentioned. Do we see that the COVID-19 behavior shift will still last long? And we do believe that it's kind of there's some reasons behind it. There's the human truth, which will be sustainable. And then we just more kind of provide the solutions in that directions, and we believe that should help us to continue to drive our growth.
And do you see a bigger shift towards kind of digital or
Definitely. I think in China, digital already have a very solid foundation. As I said, COVID-19 is kind of become the accelerator, and the penetration goes even to lower tier, and also vertically it's kind of impacts on all the daily activities is now online. So I think the impact would be even bigger and bigger.
Good. That's a great ending. I thank you both very much. We're already at the end of our 30 minutes. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for your insights, and I hope we get to talk very soon again. And thank you.
Thank you for inviting.